Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to wrap up the discussion of pseudo classes. So for our HTML we have the same HTML that we had in our previous lecture, but with just a little bit of change. In the first section of this main element, the first section, what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and add two links. So after the paragraph right in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an anchor element. This one is going to say a number sign, and I'm going to say or a hashtag or a hash sign. This is going to say read more, and the other one is going to be resources. There we go. Let's save that. So we have read more and we have resources. The rest of the code, the rest of the HTML elements, all of them are the same. We have these CSS properties which we have talked about very in depth in our previous lecture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line here so you can differentiate between the previous and the current lecture. Now, what I'm going to do in this lecture is I'm going to introduce 3 more pseudo classes, and that's going to be it, because there are a ton of pseudo classes, and when we get to our projects we are going to cover more and more of them. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select our section. Now, which section do I want to select? Now, actually, I'm not going to select any section, but I want to select a paragraph within that section. Now, let's say I want to select a paragraph of in all of our sections if that paragraph is the first paragraph. How can I do that? So let me rephrase that. I want to select the first paragraph within all these sections. Now, some of our sections, they contain more than one paragraph. So this is the first one and this is the second one. So if I just say section P, this is going to select all paragraphs of all within these sections, so all of them. If a section has 2 paragraphs, it's going to select both of them. If a section has 10 paragraphs, it's going to select all of them. But I want to select only the first paragraph, right? I don't want to select the second paragraph. Now, you might say, okay, you could do the first child, but we can't actually do the first child. We can't use that. Why? Because if we take a look at our section, any of our sections, paragraphs are not the first children. H1 or headings, they are these first children. So for the first section, we have an H1. For the rest of them, we have H2s. That's not the point. The point is paragraph is not the first child. So if you do section P first child, it's not going to select it. This is not going to work for you. So you can say font size 100 pixels. It's not going to select anything because this selector actually doesn't apply on anything. There is no section in which the paragraph is the first child. That's how simple it is. There is no section where the paragraph is the first child. But there is another pseudo class. Now, you can see that here we have an H1. In this section, let me just collapse these 2 paragraphs. We have an H2. So the type of the element doesn't matter that comes before this paragraph. What matters is their type is different. So this is an H1, this is a paragraph. What we can do is we can select this first paragraph, even though this is the first paragraph within the section, this is not the first child. Keep this in mind. I can't emphasize on this enough. This paragraph is not the first child of this section, but it is the first paragraph of this section. So what does that mean? It means we can select it by its type. What is the type of this element? Paragraph. Are there any paragraphs coming before this? No. What is coming before this? It's an H1. Is H1 different than a paragraph? Yes. So we can select it with its type. So instead of writing first child, I'm going to say first of type. What does that mean? It means go ahead and find all the sections, and within the sections select all the paragraphs that are the first of their kind. So within this section we have 2 paragraphs. Indeed, we have two paragraphs, but only select the first of the paragraphs. Now, even if you have like 100 paragraphs within a section, it's going to select the first of the paragraph category. Now, this selector is going to ignore all the other HTML element types. So it's just going to consider one type. And what is that type? That type is paragraph. So if I save this, if I go ahead and if I save this, now you can see that the font size is 100 pixels. That is not what I want to do. I want to change the font weight. So font weight, there we go. And I'm going to set it to bold. So I just want to emphasize on this. So this is selected. We can see that very well. This is selected, but the second paragraph is not selected. Why? Because this is the second of type. We are only selecting the first of type. This is selected, the second one is not selected. And if there is only one paragraph, of course, that is going to be the first of type and the last of type. These are very cool selectors. Let's go ahead and let's select a paragraph that is the last of its type. Now we are selecting these paragraphs. So even if there are 100 other paragraphs before it, it's just going to select the last paragraph within that section. So I'm going to say last of type. Keep in mind, whenever you see of type, it means that this selector, it is considering the type of these elements as well. If you just see last child, nth child, first child, it means that it is just taking a look at the hierarchy of HTML elements within their containers. It doesn't care about their type, what kind of element they are. But this one, it's a little bit stricter, more serious. That's why it's going to take a look at their type. And I'm going to say font family. These are the properties that we are going to learn later in this course. Let's save that. Now you can see that the font family of this first paragraph is different than the font family of the second paragraph. And I can zoom in so you can really see the difference. This is serif, this is sans serif. We're going to talk about these, don't worry. It has selected all of them. And we could make the color green so you can actually see the difference. So here is the last of type and last of type. If there is one paragraph, that is going to be the first of type and the last of type. Keep that in mind, because there is only one paragraph. And I'm going to show you one more selector and we're going to wrap this lecture up. And this one is going to say only of type. Only of type. There we go. So this selector is going to select paragraphs that are unique. So if there is a paragraph that is the only paragraph within that section, it's going to select that. Let's provide it with a color green. There we go. Let's save that. So what is actually going to happen here? Unfortunately, you saw the first paragraph. It has been applied, so I cannot explain this one, but I can explain the rest of them. So let's just focus not on the first section, but on the second section. So on the second section, what do we have? We have one paragraph and then we have two paragraphs. So paragraph, there is not one paragraph, there are two paragraphs. So this paragraph is not an only of type. What does that mean? It means like if one thing survives for that species, like Superman, like Goku, they are one of their kind, they're the last of their kind. So there is no other paragraph with that characteristics, and that is the name of the element. If there is only one paragraph within a section, it means that it is the only paragraph within that section, and that's why it's going to select it. Therefore, none of these two paragraphs will be selected for section 2. For section 3, we have one paragraph. Again, we have two paragraphs. There are two paragraphs. It means that paragraph is not the only of type because there are two paragraphs. So section 3 will not be selected. Only section 4 will be selected. Why? Because there is only one paragraph. That's why. That's what it makes it unique. That's what it makes it special. That's what I meant by a couple of lectures back when I said that pseudo classes allow you to select HTML elements in a special way or select special HTML elements. Now this paragraph, even though it may look quite ordinary to you, this is a special HTML element. Why? Because within this container there is no other paragraph element. This is the last of its kind, the only of its kind. So if we come here, you can see that section 2, nothing selected. Section 3, nothing selected. Only sections with one paragraph there selected. With this, our lecture comes to an end. See you in the next one.